Welcome back, guys. We're here with Yanks on the call for our second to last set review for Murders at Karlov Manor. Today we're going to be going over colorless and artifacts, so that includes this one colorless card, lands, and all of the artifacts in the set that are not color specific. Welcome back, Yanks.
Be back for a relatively short episode with the number of cards
Yeah,
we got here.
the next one is infinitely long, so
Yeah.
let's talk about Case of the Shattered Pact. If you guys did miss our introduction, check that out. It's got the rating scale as well as new and returning set mechanics and draftable archetypes. So all the information you need is in our introduction to Karlov Manor. Okay, this case has many words. Whenever this case enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. To solve, there are 5 colors among permanents you control. No. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains flying, double strike, vigilance until end of turn. No. This goes with your Niv Mizzet meme deck, but no thank you. This is a 1.
I don't know if I agree that it's a 1 because
Oh,
I can
it's
see a world where I just play this 2 mana for mana fixing.
yeah, it is just whatever it's called.
Environmental sciences.
Yes. The difference was environmental sciences was free, stapled onto
Yes,
another card.
agreed. That card was better.
So I feel like we're not doing that as often, but you're right. I might just want 2 mana, find a card.
Yeah, like if you're splashing, mana fixing in this set is not great. Like, so if you're splashing to get a colorless one like this, and maybe you've got some of those hybrid disguise, and I don't expect to ever solve this, but it's not impossible because you can
It
do it
is
in a three
impossible.
in a 3-color deck with some hybrids.
It is impossible. You're right. I think it's a 1.5. There's a chance where
Yeah,
I'm real desperate for the color fixing and I'm not in green.
yeah.
All right. Next up, we have a 2 mana artifact. Tap, collect evidence 3, add a mana of any color, put a unlock counter on it, sacrifice this, surveil, then draw 3 cards. Activate only if there are 5 or more unlock counters on it. I like the collect evidence 3 for the cards that want cards to leave your graveyard, and I think that is kind of cool. I don't like that it's a mana rock that forces you to collect evidence to get the mana, so that's a little iffy to me. The draw is okay. So you have to have no other collect evidence cards for me to consider this.
Yeah, and you would think, okay, that's like I have to remove 15 mana out of my graveyard, but it's not. It's probably more than that because some of the times you do 3, you're probably going to have to remove a 4-drop. Or, you might even have to remove like a 5 or 6. So you might actually be eating up even more potential evidence mana
Yeah,
um, than that 15. Yeah, conditional mana rock, I'm not interested.
agreed. So I'm gonna give it a 1.5. I'm sure there's a place for
Yeah,
it, but
I like the throwback to Angels and Demons for anyone that's a Dan Brown reader or watched the movie with the cryptex, but otherwise, yeah.
Gravestone Strider, 2 mana for a 1/3. You can filter your land, activate only once. You can also pay to exile Strider from your graveyard, exile target card from a graveyard. Okay. Eh.
We see these a lot, right? The cheap artifact creature that can filter once. It was like a scarecrow did that. And we've had it a few times. It's fine.
Yeah. I I think that that's good. I like the filter, but I think it's just a 2.
Yeah, I think it's just the 2. Also, I want to correct myself. It was Da Vinci Code, not Angels and Demons. My bad.
Didn't they make a sequel, or is it just the
So
book?
Angels and Demons was the first move, or sorry, Da Vinci Code was the first movie made, the first book that became a hit, but Angels and Demons is actually set before it, was written before it, and was made second as a movie.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes some sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Lumbering Laundry, 5 mana, 4/5. For 2 mana until end of turn, you may look at face down creatures you don't control at any time, and it can disguise for 5. I like being able to look at face down cards. I think
Yeah, there
that
was
that
a,
is solid.
there was a card in cons that lets you do that. And you actually use that ability more than you kind of thought you would. Sometimes you have the free mana. Um, I like this card.
Yeah. I think it's an okay card. I think it's a 2.5.
Yeah, I like it at 2/5.
Okay. Magnetic Snuffler? Like a dog, like a sniffer? Snuffler? Like a snuffle mat? A dog
It's like
snuffle mat?
it's like a living metal detector.
Yeah. Which is like a snuffle because it sniffs. 5 mana for a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to the Snuffler. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on the Snuffler. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, second ability is great with clues. The first ability makes you kind of want to play those.
With lead pipes.
Yep, those crappy clue artifacts.
That's so cool. And then it gets bigger, and it's a 5 mana 4/4 that also brings back something. It just says, it says equip. Yeah, this is fine. I think he's cute. I'm going to build him. I'm going to build this deck pretty hard, but he's still like a 2.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the deck with a lot of clues, it's probably like a 2/5 or better. Just because it can get pretty big pretty fast.
But I feel like that's not the average, right? Like
no, yeah, yeah, because we're talking colorless, you have to include a wide range. So
I'm assuming that every deck has a
that's fair.
few that makes this like borderline playable, and then there's going to be like a banger deck for it for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
Magnifying Glass, 3 mana, colorless mana rock, pay 4 to investigate. I like this if I have the room. It's a little slow. I have to have some investigate or artifact synergies, and I'd really, really want this. Like Teysa or whatever. Right? Every time a clue goes away, she makes a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I've got something like that, I'm including this for sure. But otherwise, I think it's a 23rd playable card as a 2.
Yeah, I think it's also a 2. I'm trying to find the card that lets you go find this.
Yeah. It's a blue card. It's the blue detective.
It's agency outfitter. So if if you have that card, you keep an eye out for this as something free to get out of your deck.
All right, Sanitation Automaton, 2 mana for a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, surveil 1. I don't hate this. It's a good filler card, especially if you're running like a mana-hungry deck. You get to surveil, dig through, acquire, clue, investigated, something.
Collect evidence.
Yes, that thing. It's a body. It does a thing. It's fine. Sack artifacts is a thing in the set a little bit as a sub theme, so I don't love it, but I think it's playable. I'm gonna give it a 2.
Yeah, it's a 2. I'm not happy playing it, but it'll make its way into some decks that I play.
Put on your thinking cap for 1 mana. You get +1/+2. Equip a detective 1 and equip 3. I might run this in a detective deck.
Yeah,
because the detective decks also have like the sacrifice artifact theme.
Yep, it's the other half of the magnifying glass part that blue card can get. So again, you value it higher if you have that card.
Yep, if you can get it out for free, if you can equip detectives consistently, if you have other cards where you might want to greedy sacrifice this if you need to in a pinch. And this is probably the same deck as the Snuffler, so you can like sacrifice it, bring it back if you need to. It's fine. It's a 1.5.
Yep, 1/5.
All right, moving on to the lands. The Branch of Vitu-Ghazi. Colorless, Disguise 3. When it's turn face up, add 2 mana of any color until end of turn. You don't lose mana as steps and phases end. Cool. It's a land that turns itself into a creature if you need it to, and it fixes a little bit in the late game if you need it to. This is okay, but it's not anything special. It's probably like a 2.5. I'm probably playing it in a not greedy deck.
Yeah, so you can play this face down. Like if you go into combat, attack with it, they block it to like eat it, and you just flip it up and it's a land, so it doesn't take damage, and it's only cost you 1 mana because you're getting 2 back, and it can filter.
Yes.
Or fix. And that's why that's kind of idea is why it doesn't go away in like middle of combat. Interesting. Yeah, I mean it's a free creature, and it has
exactly. So I'm just kind of my
24th
question is,
card.
Am I cutting it? Probably not, because it's free, right? Like,
Yeah, unless I've got a bunch of those triple pip cards or I'm trying to splash a third color. Yeah, I think you're right. Even this can even help splash.
Yep. So now it's the commercial district, which is the land cycle. It's a series of tapped lands. They enter the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield, you surveil one. So those are going to be nice, but these dual lands are usually, you want to play them if you want to pick them up. You're usually never cutting them when you're in those colors. I think surveil is good in this format, so I'm going to call this cycle a 2.5.
Yeah, agreed. They have land types which could be relevant.
Yeah, that could be relevant. All right, next up we have the Escape Tunnel. Sacrifice Escape Tunnel, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle. Or you can also sacrifice it. Target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. I feel like sacrificing a whole land for 2 damage is not where I want to be most of the time, unless it's like lethal.
No, but we just power crept Evolving Wilds out of every Eternal format. Because this is just better.
It is. Yep. Evolving Wilds this is better. Still, I usually give Evolving Wilds like a 3. I don't think this is a ton better, so I still think this is probably a 3.
Yeah, I think it's the same, and it's strictly better, but not in a relevant way.
All right, Surveil Mazes. I mean, honestly, the Surveil Mazes are also 3s. It's just I wouldn't take a land in a 2-color deck. I probably wouldn't take a land over my creature 3s or my spell 3s.
Yeah, they're 3s because they're an upgrade over a basic, but they're not actually more impactful most of the time than a real 3.
Yep, exactly.
Or even a real 2.5.
The next one is Public Thoroughfare.
Yep.
Land. Public Thoroughfare enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped artifact or land you control. Add any color. This is good if you are 3 colors, but I don't think I'm interested in it if I'm not 3 colors.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist on this card where normally it's like sacrifice unless you pay 1. Here you can just tap like a clue or something.
Yeah. Okay, rating-wise, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a 2. I'm probably not doing it unless I'm a 3-color deck.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Surveil Land. A lot of colorless lands here. Enters battlefield tapped, adds a colorless. Tap an untapped creature you control, add any color. You can also sacrifice this and draw a card. Okay, so it's a filter in a not greedy deck that can also sacrifice itself to draw. It's also a clue, which
It's
is
an artifact,
cute.
yeah. It's an artifact
Yeah.
land.
So I feel like this has a deck that this is wanted in, and I probably am not cutting it in most 2-color decks. So I'm gonna say this is a 2.5.
Yeah, it's kind of like the first one with the creature. It's like it's a free spell on a land.
Yep,
In terms of
exactly.
drawing a card.
Surveil. The art on these are really pretty. Undercity sewers, underground mortuary. I like it.
Yep, and that's it.
That's the end of our colorless, Yanks. Easy.
Yep. Yeah, I mean a 10-land cycle of surveil lands, which are nice, but none of this stuff all rare, so not going to have a huge impact in limited.
I definitely would have expected to see a few more high impact artifacts, but after how many multicolor cards we saw, I guess I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is the first ever Ravnica set without a bunch of common duels,
Yeah.
right? I think.
I guess another reason why we didn't see a ton of the colorless artifacts is because there actually were artifacts in the set as well that were colored,
in the
but
colors.
like,
Yep.
yeah, you don't want to overthrow in too many artifacts. So anyway, for those of you guys who are on YouTube, make sure you guys check out the introduction to Karlov Manor if you missed it. And don't forget to check out our next episode. It's probably already up, which is the multicolor, the grand finale. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave us a comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.